You keep hearing you look great for your age. And some mornings that quiet compliment stings more than it should. If your haircut hasn't changed in a decade, your mirror might be the one holding you back, not your age. I research worst style and beauty mistakes and youth-boosting fixes for mature women, so you get simple, proven transformations that work instantly. Today we're perfecting 7 rejuvenating haircuts to look 10 years younger, rich and elegant at 60 plus. And by part 5 you'll want to pause and look in the mirror. I mean it. We're covering 7 cuts that instantly soften, lift, and elevate your whole face, plus 3 mistakes quietly aging you every single day. The very first haircut? It's the one stylists recommend most and explain least. Let's go. 1. The soft layered bob. Have you ever stood in front of the mirror wondering why your haircut looks fine, but never actually flattering? That's not your imagination. It's usually the cut. The soft layered bob is the single most requested rejuvenating style for women over 60, and almost nobody explains why it works so well. It's built around movement, soft face-framing layers that catch the light and soften every hard edge. Time adds to our features. Here's the honest truth. A blunt, heavy cut without layers drags your whole face downward. It adds visual weight exactly where you don't want it. Your bone structure deserves better than that flatness. So here are the 5 fixes that actually work. First, ask your stylist for layers that start at cheekbone height, never lower. This is what creates instant lift. Second, keep the ends soft and rounded, never razor sharp, because sharp ends read as severe on mature skin. Third, request face framing pieces slightly shorter at the front. They draw the eye up toward your eyes instead of down toward your jaw. Fourth, ask for graduated layering at the back, so the shape doesn't collapse by afternoon. Fifth, and this one surprises people, request slightly less layering underneath than on top. It keeps fullness without frizz. If you're still wearing one length past your shoulders with no shape, swap it for a soft layered bob that hits just above collarbone. If you're getting the same trim every visit with no layering added, swap that appointment for one where you specifically request cheekbone height layers. This is the one that made a friend of mine stop mid-conversation and ask what changed about my whole face. Yes, that's simple. Maintenance is easy. A light smoothing cream on damp ends keeps the layers soft without weighing them down, and a trim every 8 to 10 weeks keeps the shape crisp. Honestly, I wish someone had told me this cut existed years before I finally tried it myself. There's one detail about this haircut that changes how your entire face reads on camera or in photos. And it has to do with exactly where your part sits, which is precisely what mistake number 1, coming up right after our 7 cuts, is going to expose. You'll want to know this before your next salon visit. 2. The curtain layered shag. This one is for every woman who thinks she has to choose between looking put together and looking effortless. You don't. The curtain layered shag gives you both, and it does it by working with movement instead of fighting it. Most women over 60 avoid shags entirely because they assume shags mean messy, unstructured, or too young for them. That assumption is costing you one of the most flattering cuts available for mature hair. Here's why flat hair ages you faster than almost anything else. Without texture, light has nothing to catch, and your whole face reads flatter too. The shag fixes this instantly. Fix 1. Ask for curtain layers that part naturally around your face, rather than a rigid center part. Fix 2. Request feathered ends throughout, not just at the bottom, so movement happens everywhere. Fix 3. And this is the quiet one, shorter layers around your temples soften a stronger jawline more than anything a product can do. Fix 4. Keep length at the crown longer than the sides for balance. Fix 5. Texture spray on dry hair, never wet, or you'll lose the shape entirely. You needed to hear this. Swap your flat iron routine for a diffuser on low heat. It enhances the shag's natural texture instead of erasing it. Swap heavy serums for lightweight texture cream, applied only mid-length to ends. Maintenance stays simple. A trim every 10 weeks keeps the layers alive, and a light oil on ends twice a week prevents the wispy pieces from looking dry instead of intentional. There is one texture trick colorists use on this exact cut that most stylists never mention, and it takes about 4 minutes tops. Part 3 is where I finally explain it, right alongside the cut that quietly fixes thinning at the crown. 3. The volumizing pixie crop. Let's talk about the cut everyone assumes is only for brave women. That word brave has scared more women away from their best haircut than any actual bad experience ever has. The volumizing pixie crop isn't about being bold. It's about proportion. And proportion is exactly what most crown thinning routines get wrong. Here's the key insight. Thinning at the crown isn't fixed by growing hair longer to cover it. Longer hair actually pulls weight downward and makes thinning more visible, not less. 5 fixes starting here. 1. A pixie with textured, piecey layers at the crown creates the illusion of density instantly. 2. Ask specifically for a disconnected nape. It keeps the back from looking flat against your head. 3. And this surprises most women. A slightly longer fringe softens the whole face more than a short one does. 4. Request graduated sides that taper rather than sharp lines. Softer is always more flattering after 60. 5. Matte finishing paste. Never shine products, because shine on short hair can highlight thinning instead of hiding it. This one is everything. Swap your volumizing shampoo alone for volumizing shampoo, plus a root lifting spray applied before blow drying. The combination matters more than either product alone. Swap brushing your pixie flat for finger styling it upward while damp. Maintenance is a 6 to 8 week trim schedule. Non-negotiable with this cut, because pixies grow out of shape faster than any other style on this list. Colorists use a specific placement trick on pixies that adds visual density without a single extra strand of hair. I promised I'd explain it. Here it is. Ask for slightly darker roots and lighter mid-lengths, concentrated right at the crown. That contrast tricks the eye into seeing fullness that isn't structurally there. Part 4 takes us into the cut built specifically for women who refuse to give up length. Part 4. The long layered lob with lift. You have been told more than once probably that long hair isn't for your age. I want you to know right now that advice is outdated and, frankly, a little lazy. Long hair over 60 can look absolutely stunning. The problem was never the length. The problem is length without architecture. Here's the truth nobody tells you. One length, no matter how healthy, pulls your whole face downward as gravity does its work over decades. It's not your hair failing you. It's the absence of internal structure. The long layered lob solves this with lift built in from the inside. Fix 1. Internal layers cut 2 to 3 inches shorter than the outer length create volume without sacrificing length. Fix 2. Request face framing layers that start at the chin. This lifts cheekbones instantly. Fix 3. Ask for a slight angle, longer in front, shorter in back. It creates forward movement that reads as youthful energy. Fix 4. Round brush styling at the roots only, not the ends, preserves length while adding lift. Fix 5. This one is often skipped. Ask your colorist for subtle face framing highlights. They do more lifting work than the cut alone. Yes, that's simple. If you're wearing one flat length past your shoulders, swap it for a lob with internal layering starting at chin height. If you're blow drying everything downward, swap that for lifting only at the roots and letting the ends fall naturally. Maintenance means a trim every 12 weeks to keep the internal layers from growing out and losing their lift, plus a weekly hydrating mask since length shows dryness faster than short hair does. Honestly, this is the cut that changed how I see long hair after 50 entirely. Part 5 is the one I promised you at the very start of this video, the one that made me pause and look in the mirror the longest. 5. The rounded bob with internal layering. This is it. The one I mentioned at the start. And I want to be honest with you, this cut works so consistently well that I hesitated even including it because it almost feels too simple to matter this much. But it does matter. And once you see why, you won't unsee it. The key insight here is about jaw softening. A straight across bob with no internal shaping sits like a frame around your jawline. And it emphasizes exactly the area most of us want softened, not highlighted. Fix 1. Internal layering, invisible from the outside, removes bulk without changing the visible shape. Fix 2. A subtle inward curve at the ends turns the whole silhouette rounder and gentler. Fix 3. Ask for slightly shorter length directly at the jaw corner specifically. This is the detail that does the actual softening work. Fix 4. Request point cutting rather than blunt cutting at the ends for a naturally soft finish. Fix 5. A diagonal parting, even just slightly off-center, breaks up symmetry in the most flattering way. This one is everything, truly. Swap a completely straight across cut for one with a soft inward curve at jaw level. Swap a razor blunt finish for point cut, feathered ends. Maintenance is straightforward. A round brush on the ends only, curling gently inward, keeps that jaw-softening curve intact between salon visits. There's a reason this cut consistently gets more compliments than almost any other style I recommend. And it isn't the cut alone. It's the diagonal part paired with it. Together, they do something no single change can do on its own. Part 6 brings us to the cut built specifically around your natural texture, whatever that texture happens to be. 6. The textured crop for natural texture. Have you spent years fighting your natural texture instead of working with it? Straightening curls that want to curl? Adding waves to hair that wants to stay smooth? That fight is exhausting. And it's also completely unnecessary once your cut is actually built around what your hair naturally wants to do. Here's the surprising truth: mature hair's texture actually changes over decades, sometimes becoming curlier, sometimes coarser, sometimes finer. Most women keep cutting for texture they had at 30, not the texture they have now. The textured crop adapts to whatever you're working with today. Fix 1. Request a cut assessed on dry, unstyled hair, not wet, so your stylist sees your real texture. Fix 2. Layers cut specifically to enhance natural curl or wave pattern, rather than fight it flat. Fix 3. Shorter length overall reduces the weight that pulls texture out completely. Fix 4. A curl-enhancing cream on damp hair, scrunched upward, never brush through when dry. Fix 5, and this one is underrated. Ask for a texturizing technique called point cutting throughout. It lets curls and waves bounce naturally instead of clumping. You needed to hear this. Swap your flat iron 3 times a week for embracing your natural pattern with the right cut behind it. Swap brushing dry hair, which creates frizz, for finger detangling in the shower with conditioner. Maintenance means air drying whenever possible, since heat styling fights the very texture this cut is designed to celebrate. Working with your texture instead of against it doesn't just save time every morning. It changes how healthy your hair actually looks, not just how it's styled. Part 7 is our final cut, and it might be the most elegant one on this entire list. 7. The elegant silver shag. We've saved the most sophisticated cut for last, and it's specifically designed for women embracing silver or gray hair, though it flatters colored hair beautifully too. Gray hair has structure and shine unlike any other hair type, but most cuts don't take advantage of that. This one does. Here's the key insight: gray hair reflects light differently than pigmented hair, and a plain uniform cut wastes that natural shine entirely instead of showcasing it. Fix 1. Request longer, softer layers throughout. Gray hair holds shape beautifully with movement. Fix 2. A face framing fringe slightly longer at the sides, catches light exactly where you want brightness near your eyes. Fix 3. Ask for subtle texturizing at the ends only. This keeps the sophisticated shape while adding softness. Fix 4. A side part rather than center. It opens the whole face and works especially well with silver tones. Fix 5. Matte styling products only. Anything with heavy shine competes with your hair's natural luminosity instead of complementing it. This is the one that made a friend of mine stop mid-conversation and ask what changed. Swap a flat uniform gray cut for one with longer, softer face framing layers. Swap high shine styling products for matte finishing cream that lets your natural gray shine through. Maintenance calls for a purple or blue toning shampoo once weekly to prevent brassiness, and a trim every 8 weeks to keep the shag shape crisp and intentional. 7 cuts down, and every one of them can transform how you're seen. But now we need to talk about the 3 things quietly undoing all of that progress before you even leave the house. Thing to avoid: 1. The wrong part placement. I promised you this one back in part 1, and here it is. This might be the single most overlooked detail in every haircut on this list. Your part placement might be aging you more than any wrinkle ever could, and almost nobody thinks to check it. Here's why this happens so often. Most women part their hair exactly where they parted it decades ago, never realizing their face shape has shifted since then, sometimes quite significantly. 5 fixes for this one. 1. Try a side part instead of a center part. Even a slight shift changes where shadows fall on your entire face. 2. A deep side part specifically opens up the eye area and can visually lift heavier lids. 3. Avoid perfectly straight parts altogether. A slightly zigzagged part looks more natural and hides thinning better. 4. Reassess your part every time you get a new cut, since the ideal placement shifts with length and layering. 5. This one is subtle. Parting slightly off-center on the side you naturally sleep away from reduces flatness on that side. Yes, that's simple. If you've worn a razor-straight center part for years, swap it for a soft side part and notice the shadow shift on your cheekbones. If your part has started looking wider or thinner over time, swap your parting pattern entirely rather than trying to conceal it with products. Maintenance here is simply retraining your part. Brush it in the new direction daily for about 2 weeks until your hair naturally falls that way without effort. This is the one that made a friend of mine stop mid-conversation and ask what was different about my whole face, and I hadn't even changed my haircut. Mistake number 2 is one almost every woman over 60 is doing right now, this very morning, without realizing it. 2. Excessive heat without protection. Have you ever wondered why your hair feels finer and more fragile than it did 5 years ago, even though nothing else in your routine changed? The answer is almost always heat, applied at the same intensity you used decades ago on hair that could handle it back then. Here's the truth about this one. High heat breaks down your hair's protein structure over time, and mature hair, already more fragile, shows that damage faster and more visibly than younger hair does. Fix 1. Lower your heat tool setting significantly. Most women over 60 need far less heat than they think to achieve the same style. Fix 2. Always apply a heat protectant, every single time, no exceptions, even on days you're only doing a quick touch-up. Fix 3. Let hair air dry to at least 70% before using any hot tool. Fix 4. Space out heat styling days and embrace air-dried texture on off days. Fix 5. Invest in one quality tool with adjustable, accurate temperature control rather than several cheap ones that run unpredictably hot. You needed to hear this. Swap your highest heat setting for the lowest one that still achieves your style. Swap skipping heat protectant just this once, for making it a genuinely non-negotiable step every time. Maintenance means a weekly deep conditioning treatment to rebuild what heat styling gradually strips away, especially through the mid-lengths and ends. Honestly, this is the mistake I made for years without realizing it was quietly undoing every good haircut I ever got. One mistake left, and it might be the sneakiest one on this entire list. 3. Skipping regular trims. This one feels harmless. That's exactly why it's so effective at quietly aging every single haircut on this list, no matter how good the cut was originally. You spent time and money getting the perfect shape, and then you let it grow out for 4, 5, 6 months before your next trim. Here's the key insight: every single cut on this list depends on its shape to do the work. Layers grow out unevenly. Fringes lose their line. Internal structure disappears first, quietly, long before the length looks obviously too long. Fix 1. Schedule trims based on your specific cut. Not a generic rule, since pixies need 6 to 8 weeks while a lob can stretch to 12. Fix 2. Book your next appointment before you leave the salon so it actually happens. Fix 3. Ask your stylist for a light shape refresh between full trims if you're not ready for more length off. Fix 4. Watch for the layers losing their lift as your cue, not just visible split ends. Fix 5, and this one matters most. Find one stylist who knows your specific cut and stick with them. Consistency in the chair matters as much as consistency at home. This one is everything. Swap skipping appointments when your hair still looks fine, for trusting the calendar over your own eyes. Swap switching stylists every visit for building a relationship with one who remembers exactly how your cut is supposed to fall. Maintenance is the whole point of this one. Treat your trim schedule with the same seriousness you'd treat any other standing appointment in your life. You now have 7 transformative cuts and 3 quiet mistakes to leave behind, And every single one of them is something you can act on this week. You just learned 7 rejuvenating haircuts and 3 quiet mistakes that most women spend years figuring out alone, if they ever figure them out at all. Boom, your bone structure was always this stunning. Now it shows. Tell me, which of these 7 cuts matches your hair right now, and which mistake were you making without even realizing it? Next time, we're tackling the one clothing choice that's aging you more than any haircut ever could. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.